You are listening to True 10 Crimecast, the only independent true crime podcast in the 210 area. Listen, share, and spread the word because when the true crime community comes together, cases get solved. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram and subscribe to our channel on YouTube and Spotify. Listener discretion is advised. This episode, we are going to share another great organization led by an amazing superwoman, Pamela Allen. Pamela is a staple and force to be reckoned with, especially when giving back to her community here in and around San Antonio. She is often selflessly helping others, many often having nowhere else to go. She has dealt with some of Bexar County's worst crimes, including infant abandonment and child abuse cases. Out of their personal path of raising a son with autism and seeing the need for social services, Pamela and her husband, Tim, have created Eagles Flight Advocacy and Outreach. This nonprofit organization is so much more than a name, including the creation of The Nest, which is a day program that empowers adults with intellectual and development disabilities. Outreach services including Kim's Cupboard, providing food pantry, Lily's Legacy, providing clothing closet, Giovanni's Hugs, providing supplies for infants and toddlers, Danielle's Legacy of Love, providing assistance for burial and cemetery needs for infants and children abuse victims. Here is Pamela sharing in her own words why she started Eagles Flight and where this path has taken her.
Eagles Flight Advocacy and Outreach, it started officially in 2012. I had purchased the name in 2002, and I was still working, my kids growing up, my son with autism, and so as they got older, I was able to move more into that realm. And my prior education was broadcasting and in radio, but when my son with autism, when he got diagnosed 27 years ago, it was just one of those things that it was the crossroads. And,
right.
And we didn't know much about autism. I mean, back then, when he was diagnosed, honey, it was 1 in 1,000. Now it's 1 in 38. That was a very hard thing for me. I was always afraid, where am I going to find another parent to talk to? And then the next thing was, that the recommendation was to put him in a facility.
Right.
Because he was nonverbal, he was self-injurious, he was going to impact my life so profoundly, and that I would really need to consider doing that. And he has impacted my life profoundly, but in a way that brings hope and brings value. Because now, after working with him for so long and not accepting that as just this is what the final outcome was, we worked very hard. And now he's very high functioning. He works with animals. He loves animals. And he has his own bank account, rides via, orders way too much takeout, and those people coming up my driveway, I'm like, who is this? And he'll come running down the stairs. I got it, Mom, no worries. Like, oh my God. Strangers in my home. Stranger being. But, my mother was a CPS worker, case manager, child psychologist. My mother's always done case management. We grew up in that. So when we first started, it was more of our advocacy, but we've always done the outreach portion. We've always fed under the bridges. We've always helped those in crisis. That was just something that came normal to us. But in 2013, when the baby founded the waste management facility, I had such an enormous sense of responsibility to give that child a decent burial. My niece had passed away just 6 weeks prior, and as she was passing, she was surrounded by the loving arms of her family. We got to kiss her and tell her goodbye, and she got to receive so much love before she met the ultimate love. That to me just stayed on my heart. And then 6 weeks later, here's this baby in a trash can. And it was so frustrating that I kept on hounding the medical examiner at that time was the chief, Jimmy Holging. And I really thought that this man was going to put a restraining order on me because I kept on calling him. And I said, hey, listen, that's my baby. That I'm going to bury that baby. That's my baby. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
I just had to give him a burial, hon. I needed to provide that for that baby because I got to witness something that was just very heartfelt. And then this baby was in the trash can. So I took that extra step and I went to go and visit his mother in jail. Legal Hood, before he ran for DA, he helped me. He helped me devise a contract that said that she was going to give me power of attorney to bury the child that she murdered. And it sounds strange, and I know, but whatever hoop I needed to jump through, that's what I was going to do. I needed to be able to do that for this child, whom I later named Noelle. I met with her. I will never forget that meeting because it was just one of those things that, I didn't understand. But I knew when she walked from behind that wall, when I saw her, she was someone's daughter. She was still someone's mother. And it was not, I couldn't tell her, what the hell were you thinking? How could you do this? I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that because I don't know what was going on in her heart at the time. All I could tell her is that I'm there to give her permission to bury her baby. And I even told her I named him Noelle, and she said, thank you, that's a beautiful name. She had a lot of things going on, and the mental health issues were a concern as well. So here we are, fast forward to the beginning of this year, which is our 65th burial. And it was baby Mary who was found in the toilet in December, and we buried her in January. That was a hard case too, but that case really got me so much negative feedback because of the fact that the mother was incarcerated, and I tried to meet with her, and the deputies and the sheriff said, Pam, she's in no position to have that meeting. There are a lot of concerns about her coming off of drugs. There are a lot of concerns about her mental health right now, mental and emotional well-being. And we do not believe that this would be a safe visit for you. And I said, well, I need you to ask her. So when they did, she said, I'll only meet with her if she posts my bail. I'm a nonprofit, sweetie. I can't do that. I'm not that nonprofit who does that. So we proceeded, and I tried to give her a name that was closest to her mother's name. It was around Christmas time. Mary seemed fitting for her. Called her baby Mary. 4 months later, they said, no, it was a miscarriage, and they released her from jail. I don't know all the details. Here's what I do know, that the people who were preparing her body for burial, the funeral home, said, hey, Pam, why don't you get her a little hat to help conceal all of the head trauma that she sustained? And I said, absolutely. That's always been hard to buy burial clothes for a little one. And yet I went ahead and did that and gave her a beautiful resting place at Resurrection Cemetery with my other children that I buried that were abandoned. Because there's a lot of children that I've buried that were abused, and their family members took care of the burials of where they would rest. But for my abandoned babies, I have them all together except for Noelle. Oh man, I love that they do that for me. They set apart a little plot for all my little ones. That since Noel was my first, and I had no idea what I was doing. He's at over by Converse Mission, and since his family knows that he's there because the cousins did attend that funeral, I do not want to move him because I want his sisters, he had two sisters, to be able to visit his grave when they get older. So I won't move. I won't move him. But that case with baby Mary, that hit national news. And this one news outlet has like 7 million followers on social media, put some alarming details about what Texas does to mothers who miscarry. This poor woman not only was incarcerated, but had her baby illegally buried by this woman. And there's my face. You know, people who don't know details, people who aren't informed, they said that I stole this baby and buried and played the compassionate advocate. One even suggested that I should give back all of the humanitarian awards that I won or that was given to me because I'm nothing but a sham. I stole the baby. No, it was horrible because then I started getting hate mail, threats. So, I've gotten used to that, and I'm going to tell you, this has just been part of my life right now.
Even though Pamela has endured setbacks and backlash from various spectacles, she still works to bring closure to the tiniest victims. This is especially true when she took on the now infamous missing case of Lina Khil. Lina was just 3 years old when she disappeared from her home in 2001 on the city's west side. She was playing outside her apartment and has never been seen since. Pamela shares the highs and lows of working with her family and law enforcement.
Lina's case has been so hard on my family, and it left me, I would say, very distraught at times because I've been followed, harassed. I've been blamed for her abduction. My mother, who was in hospice, dying of leukemia inside her home, had the social media personalities outside saying that Lina was inside that home. I've had my son in Floresville, different type of social podcasters going to my son's home saying Lina is in that home. And I had to call the sheriff to get them over there to my son's home to protect my son. But then I wanted them to go through my son's home to see that, there was 2 special needs children inside that home and that they needed to protect him. My family paid a price for that one. And I just always have these certain amount of feelings because, and a lot of these psychics who were on this case, I really got very vocal about what some of our, and I'm using air quotes, sympathetic community members, they were going to the apartment complex where Lina lived, and there are many, many, many Afghani children there. And they were posting videos on TikTok and Twitter or everywhere else. And they were posting all of these videos. Do you see all these children who are alone? There's no mother out here. There's nobody here. They're just out here alone. And so I was pretty angry about that. And I said, the problem with what you're doing is that now you're setting them up for predators to go try to abduct them. The Afghani women, first of all, they cannot be seen outside of their own small community. They have a different culture. They have a different religion. I know. I get all of that. But because I openly just really condemned their actions, it made me a target. And it made my husband a target. One psychic said that it was my husband who abducted her and buried her in cement. And for weeks, I cried about that because this is the life that I chose. This is the life and the road that I decided to go down. My husband didn't ask for any of this, and I felt very, very tormented about the fact that they said these types of things about this amazing man, and it really hurt me. And I had to make sure my children were okay. We installed cameras everywhere. I raised my 2 younger grandchildren. And now I had to be in fear for them. I was being followed with cameras. My husband then said, it's time for you to learn how to start shooting, dear. And so I'm armed. I've had to have security with me in some places because there was just some really violent people who were angry with me. And they say the Muslims are violent. There's some good old Texas Christians that'll whoop you up.
Problem is everyone's so quick to say what they want to say. It should be this, it's that, but then yet nobody wants to be proactive and actually do things that could benefit any search or could benefit getting her information out. You got that much energy to be chasing somebody, you should be out on the corner with her picture every day. It's like, what are you doing to better the situation? And that's what I always think in my head.
Right. But hon, the thing is about this is that they're Muslim, they're from Afghanistan, so they've had a lot of people say he sold her, she's a child bride. We've listened to all of that crap. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Right.
Where's the mother? The mother should be questioned. Let me just tell you this and make sure people understand. CPS, the FBI, SAPD, everybody, every agency has questioned that mother. She understood that she was legally responsible to answer these questions. Was it in front of the cameras? No. Did they televise anything? No. When she was interviewed, to say that she wasn't, people who were saying that, well, I know they never asked her. Yes, they did. Of course they did. Of course, they have to abide by our laws. Of course they did. And Riaz, Lina's daddy, understood that. Now, he was military intelligence for his country. And he also served our country when we occupied their country. This man served our country very well. And I'm very proud of him. He's the same age as my youngest son. The same age. And so I know he's far away from his family. And after the press conference, go back to his house and me and Zarmina and Lina's youngest brother just sat and had lunch and very communal, just sat with them and talked about everything else but Lina, just different things. And it was comforting. Just because we all understand the harshness of this case, but yet, have a minute to breathe, that was good. We shared some details about that case, and we shared some things that it's like, this is unreal, that there was a coyote who'd been jailed for trafficking in 2019, who was top 10 of the U.S. Marshals most wanted list, and there he was in 2021 living at the same apartment complex. But is there anything that has been? I don't know, because the only response that Riaz gets is, oh, it's an ongoing investigation. We can't give you any information. Frustrating. I mean, I'm going to be that voice for them, and I know SAPD gets pretty pissed off about it, but it is what it is. They're doing their job, and I'm doing mine.
Pamela still works alongside Lina's family, and we hope to work with her in season 3 to cover Lina's story here on the podcast. But the story we have covered in episode 19, Forever 4, the Giovanni Ochoa story, where we told you about 4-year-old Giovanni who was abused, starved, and neglected by his own family, ultimately leading to his death. Pamela worked to ensure his story and memory would be honored for years to come and named Eagle's Flight Baby Pantry after him.
In my opinion, I did not want anybody to forget his name. Our baby pantry is called Giovanni's Hugs. We're there to help these women with their children with anything that they need so that we don't come to another case. If you need food, if you need clothes, diapers, wipes, formula, if you need a crib, all of these things are going to be available to you because we just need to start standing with these families and helping them through this. I mean, we've even had mothers coming in there. There's 2 babies that they have in their carriage, and yet this mother's pregnant with a 3rd, and she said, I can't. We set her up with an adoption agency. And if you think you can't, we're not going to force you to. Here's a number. Let's get you to somewhere, and let's help you, because we have to help these women come to a Giovanni's case, come to a Baby Noel case. We have to throw up obstacles.
Setting up these obstacles to keep mothers and families from doing the unthinkable starts with prevention and education. One of the biggest prevention hubs, Baby Moses Law. Moses Law, or Safe Haven Law, was passed in Texas in 1999. This law allows for parents of unharmed infants up to 60 days old to leave them in care of various entities like the fire department or hospitals. This allows parents who cannot care for their infants to surrender the baby safely. No questions asked, no cost. The baby is then taken to the hospital for medical checkup and provided care through family services. Some areas around Texas in the United States have created baby boxes. These boxes are often built into these various safe entities where parents can leave the baby in the box that immediately calls emergency services. Again, no questions at no cost. Just a safe way for parents that cannot care for their infant, a place to surrender the babies. It is estimated over 150 babies have been surrendered safely here in Texas. Although San Antonio does not currently have any baby boxes installed, Pamela has worked hard for this to become a reality.
This year has been phenomenal in that aspect because Sheriff Salazar has said, okay, let me get you in touch with Via. Via has the Baby Moses Law and their buses free of charge. Then I got to go to jail, start teaching inmates.
I think people don't realize how effective it can be when it's told to the right people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it has to be. We're expecting those boxes to be installed because I've been fighting for those safety devices, the baby boxes to be installed. And that was like 9 years ago when we started fighting for that. We finally got it. And then the city put aside some funding for that. So now we're just waiting for installation and permits and things. And now those baby boxes are going to be there. And especially when it comes to the Baby Moses Law and helping in that aspect, because remember, these are infants that you're saving. I think it's important to even get a flyer, talk to teenagers, make sure they understand, make sure your family understands, making sure that they understand that if they get to a place or if they have a friend that gets to a place where they cannot care for this baby, they could take this baby to a fire station and not be prosecuted. That's huge. That's big. And you're not only saving one life, you're saving two. I've seen so many mothers that go to jail because they discard their baby and that two lives have ended. And so it's important for that education. You know, people ask me, have you gone to high schools? Have you gone to junior highs? Well, there's some that will talk about it and some that won't. Right. But it's important to let this newer generation know and understand that this law saves lives, and not just the infants, but the mothers as well.
According to the city of San Antonio, it is hoping to begin installation of these boxes this year in 2026. We thank Pamela and Eagles Flight Advocacy and Outreach for all the work that has been done in this city and county, all the lives that have been positively impacted, and all the good work that is yet to come. She is a one-woman superhero, but relies on donations and support from the communities and listeners like you. For more information on Eagles Flight, you can visit eaglesflightsa.com. We will link all of our references and resources in our show notes, including information on Baby Moses Law, safe haven drop sites, and other organizations and supports that are offered here locally in San Antonio, Bexar County, and Texas. For our intercontinental listeners, we will link U.S. and global resources as well. And as always, stay safe, San Antonio.